Holy smokes, this isn't a joke. There's big news about Bitcoin from Michael Saylor. Hi there, pretty people. Good morning, moneymakers. Bitcoin hasn't been able to reach a new all time high yet. Today, Bitcoin has been all over the place, a little up and down. Today, we're going to talk about where Bitcoin is, why altcoins are lacking a bit, and when Bitcoin might lose its lead. Okay, let's talk about that some more. We'll also talk a little about whether we're on the verge of a big movement. We'll also talk about that. I only ask that you smile at me so that I can spread good vibes, right? The world needs good vibes right now. It's time to start, so hit that like button hard. Right now, Bitcoin is worth $72,494, which is 0.33% less than it was yesterday. You can see how unstable it is, right? Bitcoin was at 72,500. It dropped all the way to 71.5%, then came back up to 72.5%, and then fell back down to 71.5%. It was very bumpy going up and down. Then this happened right here where all of a sudden at 10 p.m. my time, that makes it 4 p.m. We saw it go up, then drop, and then go on a huge run up to the resistance area in Eastern time in the US. Two of the all-time highs for Bitcoin were reached here, and then it dropped. What was going on here? For example, Michael Saylor said that MicroStrategy was going to raise $42 billion, that's $4 billion, through equity offerings worth $21 billion and the purchase of $21 billion worth of fixed income securities. This is what they plan to do with the money, even though it's not stated in the announcement. Come join us at for a few minutes. Bitcoin went crazy, it shook the market, went up, and then it sold off. There was a short recovery, and now it's going down again. Bitcoin hasn't been able to reach the highs we saw yesterday. Once more, a very rough day. Altcoins have been all over the place. It has been very dangerous for day traders. I'm sure there have been, let's go over it again, but 24 hours, $67 million were lost on long positions and $41 million were lost on short positions. That's almost the same number, the number of shorts and longs that were sold today. Since a lot of people were very excited yesterday, there were big changes, and then people opened long or short contracts. After that, the market became very choppy. I was making some openings. That's what I did. I saw the position, the leverage position, go up 100% and then back down to zero more than once. It also went up 100% and then back down to zero again. And I was like, held out, something is going to happen. It did not happen. I missed out on a lot of gains today because I had stop losses in place to keep myself out of the money. Things are not going well. Some of them also hit the stop losses. After that, I began to take a small profit. Yes, but it was a very tough day with a lot of big waves. As for what will happen, we'll see. Tonight it might get a little hotter. We'll see if it gets hot and heavy. But things are very interesting for Bitcoin right now. When we look at the technicals, the moving averages outside of the Ichimoku base, which is hard to buy on, they all show a buy signal. There are only a few interesting things about the oscillators. The relative strength index, momentum, and Williams percentage range all say sell. Some are neutral, and one trades the MACD as a buy. The trends tell us to buy, really buy, and strongly buy, but the others, in this case, things are a little unclear. We gained speed, but there was a small drop in that speed over the last day or so. It's possible that this changes the data a little. It looks great when you look at it all, but we did see a pullback here, and this 3% downturn might be throwing off the oscillators a bit. From a price movement point of view, we'll see what happens. The last all-time high is of course the next level of difficulty. There isn't much below that. The previous all-time high for Bitcoin was set in 2021 at 68,800. Besides that, though, there isn't much pushback. It's been going back and forth for 8 hours, so you could say this 71.5 times. It's interesting, but maybe we need to keep an eye out for that zone. There's also a lot. The question is whether we are now in the optimistic part. It seemed like a lot of people kept saying, no, we're here, it's a fake gathering or something like that. Okay, let's see. But I talked to someone today who said we're going to break through, right? I think they were on the edge of something big. The next few months are going to be great. I told him, hey friend, listen. I've learned and lived long enough to know that we were in the same boat back in June. It's not likely that will happen though. It's not moving as fast, it's not the same time frame. Bitcoin often does very well in the last 3 months of the year. June isn't usually like that, and neither is summer, which is why it's selling in May and leaving, right? So there was a sell off, then it went back up, and then it happened again. I told him, listen, we might see a nice jump here, but we might not. We need to be careful. That being said, if you're still interested, you can do what I'm doing, which is not making any big changes here. Instead, I'm taking advantage of moves and day trading or swing trading. Our business partner Margex will let you go long or short if you're interested. You can do 100x for Bitcoin, which is a bit much. I tried it once or twice, but it's a bit too much for me because if Bitcoin goes down 1%, you lose all your money. It's going very quickly. You can, however, move on to acts with less risk if you want to. Not every country can use it, and there is no know your customer KYC. If you're interested, there is a link in the description below. If you use my link, you'll get some extra stuff. But keep in mind that dealing with borrowed money is very, very, very risky. It's possible to gain and lose a lot of money. Be very, very careful out there. And if you use my link, thank you. I know a lot of people who work with Margex. If you trade through my link, I'll get paid some money. Thanks for that. That being said, the question now is how much Bitcoin they can buy. It will be interesting to see what happens, because if they are able to get 42 billion Bitcoin, that means they would be buying 1.16 Bitcoin every month on average. At the current price of $2,000, that would mean they were adding another 583,000 Bitcoin to the amount of 252,000 Bitcoin that was already there. At that point, MicroStrategy would have 835,000, which is 4% of the total stock. To give you an idea, the Bitcoin ETF has seen a total net intake of $23.3 billion so far. In a sense, it's 2x. Over the course of 3 years, prices could change, and a different average buying price will mean a different amount of Bitcoin held. When everything is over, my name is Dan, and I trade crypto here. This is a nice study. What might be able to happen? It won't happen right away. Tomorrow is not going to be the day. It's going to be bought by Michael Saylor and Michael Sherry. So you don't see the price go through the roof now that he's bought it all. No, he needs to get the money first, which will take some time. Then they'll have to be smart about how they use and buy it. What this means and how when he does it, and how he does it will be interesting to see. I'm looking forward to seeing how that goes. Now listen up, the altcoin market is kind of. Bitcoin is already at all-time highs in 113 currencies. It hasn't hit an all-time high in dollars yet, but it has in a lot of other currencies. Remember that the prices change there, and I'm sorry for the music. But altcoins haven't been moving around much, right? There are also times when altcoins aren't pumping and Bitcoin is at 72,000. Isn't the answer easy? The power of Bitcoin. That number is now around 60%. And eventually, as always, the dominance will fall because it will reach a point where it's too high or where people